without further ado, my guest today, I'm excited to talk to this guy. I heard him speak recently at a Zoom event, and he was an attorney, and now he's running for office, and he's running for District 34. Please welcome to the show, Mr. David Kim. David, what's up, buddy?
Yes. Hi, Ron. Thank you so much for having me.
So
Excited to be on.
thanks for being here. I want to get into your story a fair amount. So I want to start at the beginning. On your website, you mentioned that you were an attorney and you also had some you've done some work in the music industry. And you said you wrote a book to help artists avoid getting ripped off. And I got to ask you, as a comedian myself, where can I get that freaking book, buddy? Where can I get that book so I don't get ripped off?
Yeah, well, Ron, if you are interested in doing film and TV acting, then yes, get that book. Because
I'm on it.
Okay, because the book is titled "The Film and TV Actor's Pocket Lawyer." So what I noticed was, at the time when I was working 2 to 3 jobs, doing that whole grind and hustle myself, because at that time paid legal jobs were so scarcity, and so I was working free as an attorney, then juggling driving for Lyft and Uber. But as I was doing that, I noticed that a lot of actor friends, a lot of writer friends, a lot of creative friends they were paying their attorneys these $10,000 retainers or mixed retainers plus percentages and per dollar per hour. And I thought, why are you guys getting ripped off like that? And you're asking me for free legal help. And so that was my sort of kind of fall through into entertainment law. And the more I got to learn and be well versed in it, the more I realized, oh my gosh, you guys are being taken advantage of. Let's stop this. Let's nip it in the butt. And so I went ahead and wrote the Film and TV Actor's Pocket Lawyer. So if you're an actor and you get a pilot deal or a movie deal or a contract or a special guest appearance, or you're in a new web series and you don't have the money to get an attorney, and this book will let you look out for what areas to be mindful of and what to negotiate and realize what are the standards and parameters. That way you can avoid paying an attorney $2,000 to look over like a 3-page deal memo. So that's the key. And after we started seeing other law practices like Counsel for Creators. When you go on Yelp or Google, there's a lot of more creative law practices now that are now focused more on creatives instead of just the money now. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to help out at that. But currently I'm an immigration attorney, Ron, as I don't know if you pointed that out, but I'm currently an immigration attorney. I defend respondents in immigration court when they receive their notice to appear for removal. So I advocate for their extended stay here or for asylum or for any other means for them to stay here, and also documentation as permanent residents for DACA recipients as well. And so I'm taking a pause in my career because I just feel like we're in urgent times and people from our communities need to be running for office. So thank you for having me.
So you basically chose to use your powers for good. You have a law degree, and you could have been very charitable and helped out some of these poor corporations that are just trying to destroy our planet and wreck the environment. You could have done that, but you were like, I'm going to be a little more selfish here and help out creatives and immigrants. I'm doing something for me, right?
Yeah, and then some people are like, "Oh, David, like, what do you mean? You're a hotshot lawyer and like you probably have lots of money." No, the reality was I was working as a labor and employment attorney 60 hours a week, on $2,000 a month, not being able to pay for rent, and so I had to do extra jobs. And then doing that hustle, I knew what it was like. And to think, when we think of people like, oh, actor Angelina Jolie, oh, actor so and so, whoever's rich, but no, when we think actor here, it's like somebody with 2 or 3 jobs really trying to make ends meet, but never getting a chance to because they're always working. So they don't even start to pursue their dream. So that's what really affected me to the core.
Totally. And if they do work full time, they're basically one ripoff away from not being able to make rent, because it's like, oh, they didn't get the residuals they should have. They got screwed over on this deal, and now they're not really getting the payout they deserve for their work. And gee, they're kind of just getting by because it's a tough industry. There is a big world between community theater and Angelina Jolie, as you put it. There's a big wide world. And that's the case in music. That's the case in comedy. Yeah. You know how it goes. All right. So let's get into, you decided to run for office. Unpack that for me.
Yeah. So during my time just kind of doing the whole grind and hustle so I moved to Los Angeles in 2010
From where?
I went to law school in New York. So
Okay.
I went to Yeshiva Law School. Cardozo is the name of the law school, but it's part of the Yeshiva University. So I went to law school there, but I actually grew up all along the West Coast. I was born in Arizona, grew up in Washington State, then moved to NorCal, and then for college, and then law school, and then settled here in 2010. But during my years here, it was really based on my experiences here, connecting with people, meeting hundreds and hundreds of clients, and doing the whole grind and hustle for 8 to 9 years of the 10 years here, that I realized, oh my gosh, life isn't supposed to be this tough where you're continuously working, giving, and you don't still see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it was in 2017 where I just started becoming more aware and thinking, you know what, something's wrong here. Like, it's not about us, like something's systemically wrong. And that's where I started to get more politically engaged, and started to was able to finally factualize or put it concretely recognize the things that I was feeling, in the sense of recognizing the fact that we're in a 35+ year income wage stagnation with increasing widening wealth gaps, and even more so during this pandemic, when we've seen the biggest transfers of wealth to the privileged few and wealthy at the top, to the military industrial complex, to defense contractors. And so looking at all of this, it made me think, whoa, I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's the government, and it's not one, because the matter of fact is the government is not set up to help the people right now. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a reality that's happening in front of our eyes. And you can see that when people aren't able to pay for their medical expenses, for their basic expenses, for their rent, for their food, because there are no jobs. I mean, pre-COVID, people were living paycheck to paycheck. At least 70% of us were. Now, millions don't have healthcare insurance. Millions don't have a job or money to pay rent. And so, with that being said, it was really during my involvement in Kenneth Mejia's campaign. So Kenneth Mejia ran for U.S. Congress in our district 2 years ago.
He's a friend of the show. We've had him on a couple times. I like Kenneth. He's a good
Oh,
guy.
nice. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Kenneth's a good dude.
I love Kenneth. Yeah, Kenneth, I call him my godfather. And he lets me call him that, because I fell into this rabbit hole. I was sitting just minding my own business, doing my grind. And I got a text and it said, "Hi, I'm Kenneth Mejia, and I'm fighting for a Green New Deal, universal health care, student debt cancellation." I was like reading and I thought, okay, you're younger, but damn, you're so bold. I love it. These are the issues that we really need to fight for. And to me, it didn't seem like a pie in the sky thing, but really issues that would really help all of our lives in so many different ways. And so I fell down this rabbit hole of helping out on his campaign. I ended up helping out a lot. Unfortunately, he lost, but he did really well. There's less than 1% registered as green in our district, and our district is predominantly a Bernie district, which is great. And so Kenneth, even though there's less than 1% registered as green, he managed to win 28% of the total vote of the general election, and that's a lot. It shows you that almost a third of Democratic voters didn't even vote for their own elected official, who's a Democrat. And to me, that showed a lot of things. And Kenneth, I mean, he already ran a couple times, and he was just too burnt out to run again. And I had no intent or thought to run at all, even when he ended. But as I was watching the debates last year, as I was organizing and in my community, serving on neighborhood council, doing the local organizing work that I was doing, and watching the presidential primary debates last year, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no better time than now to run, because people are desperate. People need help right now. Being activated by people like Nina Turner, Marianne, like Bernie, like just all these different great individuals and leaders, that's where something turned on in me. And so I remember last year, I thought, okay, this is so crazy, but I'm going to file my papers to run for Congress right now, because it's so needed right now. And so that was about in July of last year. And now it's October 28th, and we're about 15, 16 months in. So yeah, a lot has happened, but we have now 6 days left, and we're really trying to get the word out, Ron, because we're fighting for, we're 100% people powered, 100% grassroots. What that means for people watching is we don't take any corporate PAC money, and and corporate PAC money from private prisons, from military defense contractors, from pharmaceutical companies, healthcare companies, payday lenders, student debt collectors, banks, developers. We don't take any of that money, because if you do, then you're representing and prioritizing corporate interests over the people, because once you get into office, your worry is about getting reelected. And if you don't get reelected, then that's obviously a big thing for your career. And the reason, the one way that they get reelected is taking the corporate PAC money, because the reality is whoever has the most money, whoever's able to raise the most corporate money wins an election. And so what our opponent is doing, he's washing us away with mailers right now. He's already sent 8 mailers in the span of a week and a half. And so in that sense, it's something that we really need to change. But the fact that when I'm elected and because we're people powered, once I get into office, it's disruptive to the world of politics, because I don't have to worry about kissing ass or sucking up to corporate interests or to the few people at the top of the party leadership, because I'm not afraid of corporate PAC money being pulled from me or whatnot, because I wasn't elected by corporate money. I was elected by the people. And so that's why a people powered movement is so disruptive, because there's nothing to hook us on. And Tulsi talks about this in her interview with Joe Rogan, in one of them, and that's the hook that they can't hook us with. And so I think now it's really a time for us to really elect people who are people powered, who really stand for issues that are affecting the community. And so we're fighting for giving every American a floor to stand on. If an elected official says that they care for the people, that they care about us, then they can't just say it in lip service. They need to act it out. So my opponent, he says, oh, I fight for Medicare for all. I'm a co-sponsor. Yeah, okay, so since you've been a co-sponsor, what have you done? Your pharmaceutical companies and healthcare company donors, their best interests are far away from Medicare for all. What have you done? Have you actually talked about it? Have you put up a press conference? What are the other ways you're fighting for it? Or did you sign on because a majority of the House Democrats, because at least 105 Democrats in the beginning signed on, and it would be politically expedient to do so? Why did you? And so these are the moves and things that we need to analyze. Why are you saying you're fighting for free college when you take money from Navient, the nation's largest student debt collector? And so kind of in these things, it's just for us to really catch on. And so that's why the lip service, that's why the empty campaign promises continue to happen. And so we're fighting to give every American a floor to stand on, with universal basic income, Medicare for all, homes guarantee, Green New Deal, clean campaign finance reform, which is key. And there's other ways we can address that before overturning Citizens United. And then also immigration reform and a responsive representative bill. So until we get clean campaign finance reform, and I'll close it with this, Ron, as part of that platform policy, is before we get clean campaign finance reform, one of the ways we can get our elected officials to be held accountable is requiring that they hold office hours, requiring that they hold mandatory town halls at least once a quarter. That's the very minimum. We'll be doing it more frequently than that, letting our constituents know about what legislation we'll be voting on, instead of after the fact, where they sort of tend to now report back to us thinking that's okay and just answering Q&As and sufficing it as that. But no, that's not what co-governance is, because the House used to be one where people like you and me could just run for office, serve, and then go back to our regular lives and our occupations. And that's what the House used to be. But now it's just become a political industrial complex. And so, yeah, that's why I'm running Ron.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and